everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dojo Live this Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. My name is Kim Lantis, and joining me as co-host today is America Guerrero.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Sam.
Hi.
Hey, Kim.
Hey, America. And of course, the guest of honor today, the most important person of today's show, is Sam Fonoimoana, who is the founder and CEO of Datajoin. Sam, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. This is my first live show, so I'm really happy to be with you guys.
Yeah, there's fun in a live show. I think it's just the unexpected can happen, right? So that's perfect, and it's fun. We like to keep it conversational. We like to keep it real, and I think that's something that doesn't always happen, and it's produced. So it's part of our spirit here. But perfect. So today we're talking all about that behavior and that spirit with behavioral targeting, particularly for B2B, business to business. But before we get into the specifics of today's topic, we'd like to get to know you a bit more, Sam, if you could. What's your story? What's your passion, and what's led up to Datajoin?
Right. So me, Sam Fonoimoana. Kim, thanks. You're like one of the only, interviewers that said my last name right. So that's awesome.
Well, we did talk
because
about
we practiced.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a Samoan last name. I'm a Polynesian. I'm an island boy. That's my background. I was born in Hawaii and then grew up in LA after we moved from the islands. So, but yeah, I mean that's. A little bit about myself. I mean, how did I get into tech? I don't know. It was a long road, like partly, by accident. But I think it was just all in the plan for Sam Fonoimoana. I went to school at BYU. I got my alma mater on today. Just here in Utah. Which is where I live now. And I was studying business over there, but in the midst of learning about EBITDA and leadership classes for business. I took a couple of information systems classes, and on one of them was on Microsoft Excel, and then the other one was, I mean, I didn't even know what a spreadsheet was. I just remember taking that class. I'm like, what am I looking at here? What are all these rectangles? And by the time I was done, I was like, whoa! I'm like, I don't know how I can use this, but in the future, like, I think this is a powerful thing. And then I took a second class on VBA, which is kind of that's the coding language for Excel. And same type of thing, in the midst of learning about debits and credits from my accounting teacher, I tucked away, this idea that, hey, I can code things and I can automate things. And, years after I left those classes, it came in handy, for me later on down the road. So that's really the seeds were planted, though, back there in my college courses, I would say. Yeah.
I think that's really beautiful. One of the things I always tell, I'm 40 now. I'm almost 41. In April, it's my birthday. But one of the things that I like to tell younger folks, and particularly those who are at the university level or just exiting university, is the truth is you're learning how to learn. And I think that's the key, because we never actually stop learning. And it's really interesting when you find those little nuggets of passion or interests along the way that who knows what it's going to turn into down the road, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea that, if I was to see myself 15, 20 years from then, I wouldn't have imagined that I'd be here, but I would be happy, to see that I landed here. So
I'm so happy about that. So let's talk about Datajoin, your company that you've helped found and of course are leading today. What do you do and what problem are you solving?
Yeah. So, for me, my career, I always call myself a marketer's best friend. I'm not a marketer, but I'm a marketer's best friend. And the reason why I say that is because, all throughout my career, that's who I've helped. I've come in with these analysis skills. I learned finance in my MBA program, and, finance teaches you to follow the money. And with that analysis skills and then those technical skills that I was talking about, that I learned in college, and mostly outside of college, actually, just a lot of internet courses. I was able to go to marketers, and marketers spend so much money. They're one of the biggest expense centers for every company, and they have a tough task of being able to prove their value and what they're actually driving for the company. And so that's all I've done in my career is come in. I say, you know what, you're spending money here. I'm going to connect it with the outcome, with all of your sales, whether that's, inside of Salesforce, a different system, or some sort of offline system. And that way you can go into the boardroom like with confidence, and you can know that, hey, I spent this much and it drove, this much money, and here's all the details for that. So Datajoin is the evolution of that. It just helps marketers to be able to accomplish that goal, but that much easier. They don't have to rely on an IT team as much, but they can really get the data that they need in all the systems that they use. And we're trying to make it easier than ever for marketers to do that, so they don't have to stand in line, and wait for the IT team. So
that's great. Well, thank you. And I think we're going to deep dive into that right now with the topic of today's show. America, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about behavioral targeting for B2B. How can B2B marketers spam less and target more? Please share with us that secret.
Yes. So I remember I was on another show a couple of months ago, and the host, he told me, hey, I went to a website once, and it was on accident, and I started seeing an ad for the shoes that was on that web page, and it followed me everywhere. And you could tell he was a little bit angry. He had an East Coast accent. He's, oh, it's so off-putting. It's so off-putting. So he was angry that he was getting targeted, and he wasn't really interested at all, like, in buying those pair of shoes, right? And so for me, that's what I told them. I said, well, they weren't really targeting you properly, right? Like, if they would have seen that, you actually came back to the site maybe, and you added those shoes to your cart, but you just didn't check out, maybe you got distracted. Like, if they saw all of that data, then they should have, probably sent you another ad for follow-up. But if you just came once and never ever came back again, right? I mean, yeah. So that's kind of the topic of the show, today. Like, how can B2B marketers, how can they target based off of behavior, true behavior, instead of just, targeting off of, some higher level metrics or piece of data that's not really that relevant, that doesn't show true intent.
Like titles.
Yeah, exactly. I think today marketers get confused. They're like, hey, you know what? I bought this email list of, it has 100 CMOs, and that's our target audience. Well, guess what? Like, those are not qualified by any means. Like, doesn't mean that none of them are even interested in your product, right? So exactly.
And I think it's really interesting focusing on less spam, because the truth is spam doesn't help anyone, right? It's not helping the marketer, and it's certainly not helping the receiver, right? Of particularly your example of someone who's not even interested, right? I don't like these shoes. I never meant to wind up there. And I think what you were just laying out in that example answered a lot of my questions when you were introducing Datajoin at the beginning of the show, sort of this chicken, and I want to say the chicken and the egg kind of process, right? Which comes first? And it was interesting to me that you were talking about the outcome, right? Of being able to provide marketers with what was successful. And to me, I was like, it seems interesting, because what my logic was telling me, or what I think maybe incorrectly, right? Not being a marketer myself, was like, this seems to me like it's starting in the wrong place, right? Because why would I start at the end when not the beginning? But then it makes a lot of sense, because when we're able to see what's successful at the end, that's what then can become iterative, and then what we can repeat and have better success right from the start. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, no, I think that's really it, because there's a lot of dead ends, right? And it's nice to know that, but really what we want to know is what worked. Like, what got us to, drive this new opportunity that's in pipeline, or a big deal that we closed with IBM, right? Like, what were actually all the marketing efforts and touch points that it took to get them there? Yeah, that's what we want to know. So it's a little counterintuitive, but we want to start with the end in mind, as they say.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to behavioral targeting, then America mentioned titles, like, these potential key personas and CMO or whatever it might be. But what are these behavioral components when we're talking about behavior? What are we targeting? What are you able to look at, or what do you suggest that marketers actually be paying attention to?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think for B2B marketers, we don't know everything. We don't have all the data. Like we don't know conversations that someone may have with their boss, right? We're not privy to that type of data. So the best that we have to go off really is, what happens on their website. Like that's like for us at Datajoin, that's the best behavioral data that B2B companies are sitting on. Like what are people doing on your website, and who are they, right? Um, so that's the type of behavioral triggers. Like, did they engage with my chat, with my chat bot? Did they come in and watch every video to completion on this new product that we just released last quarter? Did they download every piece of content? Did they even stay for more than 10 minutes? So like these are the type of events. It kind of sounds like common sense, and it is. But yeah, I mean, someone who's spending that much time on your website, you know, versus someone who just came and bounced after 1 second. Like who would you rather spend more time with if you're a sales rep or if you're a marketer, right? You would definitely rather spend time with the one who's showing like more interest. And so for us, it's all about the website behavior. That's the king of behavioral data as far as data, first party data that companies own. So
it makes a lot of sense. And from there, are you able to work backwards? Like if you find these strong behavioral, tendencies, can you tell they came from this place or this ad, or it was just a fluke? Like, is that where you start working backward also?
yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one thing that we do even just here at Datajoin. We're looking for the high intent people on our website, and then we're looking to see like, what ad campaigns, what specific ads drove them to the site, because we want to know, hey, which message was resonating with them at the very top of the funnel, and found like these high intent people that are kind of researching out everything. So yeah, we definitely work backwards. And I think more importantly, just because in today's recession environment, and uncertainty, everyone's trying to make more with less. And so it's not just important to know where they came from, but it's really important. Like if you could just identify who they are, like if you could just identify them, then you'll know like who to prioritize your marketing efforts towards, right? Like I don't need to, spam and like kind of give my brand a bad reputation to these people over here because they're not interested. But these 100 people are very interested. I should really focus all of my time and attention and love, whatever, right, with those guys, right? Because they're the ones who are showing interest in us. So
it makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, and I think the focus here is on the marketer. We've mentioned that a lot, but how could tools like yours, like Datajoin, how have you seen this play out in the dynamics between then the marketing team and the sales team? Because in terms of marketing, like, okay, I'm gonna push now an ad to this person that was on the site, to their LinkedIn account or whatever it might be, but then also alerting the sales team, like, guys, this is a big fish. Like, you should go after him. Like, are you able to see this like increased communication and optimization in terms of like a handoff as well? Or what are some of the dynamics that you've seen play out?
yeah, no, that's, for me, that's really the goal. I was listening to Forrester. They did a live show just right before the break or during the holiday, and they were talking about this like sales and marketing alignment. That's one of the big priorities, for 2023. When I think there's some sort of stat that like 78% of companies, they report that their sales and marketing teams are not aligned. These are B2B companies, and that's costing them like 10% of their revenue because they're not sharing the data, back and forth. Like they're just losing out on deals because, prospects who are ready to go, they don't get touched and they just go somewhere else where they can find the answers to some competitor. So
because I think there's this tendency to wait, like unless that prospect filled out a contact me form, people aren't doing anything, right? Or it's not getting to the sales team per se, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, yes, for sure. The way that it's set up today, if you fill out a form, then you get put into Salesforce. Sometimes you'll go to Marketo first, get qualified, and then get moved to Salesforce. But the idea is that, hey, that's not the finish line, right? That person's going to keep going back to the website. I think people in general, they would rather just do the research on their own rather than jump on a phone conversation with the sales rep. So you have to keep monitoring them. Even after they fill out the form, you got to say, hey, like these guys are still going back. They're eating up all of this content on the site. And if the sales team can have that data and they can get triggered to it, then like that big fish that you said, hey, this is a big fish. They're showing a lot of intent. You have 100 leads right now on your list of prospects. Forget the other 99. Like just go to this big fish that's showing a lot of intent, and even specifically what they're researching. So you can go in there informed and try to help them solve their problem that they're interested in your company for.
Yeah, I think that's a really big clue too, like in terms of what content are they consuming. If it's, a certain blog post about a certain theme or whatever it might be, then that salesperson can come in informed, even asking the right questions in the right way that can spark the right type of conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like that's what we're doing. Like we eat our own dog food here at Datajoin, and that's what we do. That's how we find our best prospects, right? We're watching who's interested.
I love that analogy. And it's strangely, a lot of businesses don't actually utilize their own business, right? And it's great to hear that you are doing that. America, what were you going to say?
I'm thinking of those salespeople who are in this battle of that the sales is a number game, and the other side of this battle are the people who said that the more personalization the better, right? How do you convince these people who are just attached to this idea that, okay, why do I need this whole information to personalize emails if I'm going to take, like, it is going to take me 3 hours for me to send the emails? How do you convince them, or what are the values that
I think that's a good question. Those who are just they're just trying to hit their numbers and their quota, they're not so concerned. Well, I think that's changing. Every month, every quarter, as we keep heading into this recession. I mean, we see all of the layoffs in tech. So I think I think it's evolving that way, where we have to do good marketing. Like we can't just hit numbers, but you really have to be smart and find those who are truly interested as fast as possible, because that's the only way that you're going to hit your numbers, right? I think tech in general has been kind of funded by the VCs and private equity to kind of pay these paychecks, and those times are over. Like you actually have to solve real problems, for real people and create real revenue, if you want your company to continue on. And so, I think that that mindset is changing America. Like I had a call with a large Fortune 500 company just this week, and they're all about it. They're like, yeah, our sales team, like we're looking for higher quality leads. We want this stream of high quality leads, and there's so many people that are abandoning their orders on our website, but we don't know who they are in Salesforce, because that data lives inside of Adobe Analytics. It lives in a different system. And so they come to us to say, if you can get us all those signals, then our sales reps will know, hey, go to these guys so that we can actually hit our numbers this quarter. So I think the mindset is changing just because of our tough times that we're going through.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Talking about tough times, and my question is, what's the difference, let's say, between a platform like yours, Datajoin, and something like Google Analytics? Like this big dog, these, let's say, free-ish versions that people can use. What's the drive? Like, what's the difference in terms of the ability to personalize or to target even better, especially when we're talking about recession? Why? Why is this an investment worth making?
So the way I like to think of Datajoin is, it's not another tool. Like it actually is not a web analytics tool or another tool to add on your already bloated stack, right? Everyone's stack is full of, it's got more tools than Home Depot, and it's funny, but it's for reals. And so, for us, like we're not another tool. We don't compete with any of those. All we do is take your stack and we connect all of the systems together. So fine, if you're using Google Analytics, that's perfect. And we're going to take all of that rich data out of Google Analytics and we're going to pump it into Salesforce so your sales reps can see everything happening on the website as well. or we're going to take your Salesforce data, your job titles and your opportunity stages. We're going to feed that back into Google Analytics so that you can do better, better A/B testing and personalization on the website. So we're not another tool for the stack. We're just like a glue for your entire stack, where you can just glue together all of the first party customer data across platforms.
Makes a lot of sense. In terms of tooling and the design of your own platform, I'm guessing this is working through like APIs and things, right? Like, how are you? I think two major, let's say, concerns or problems come to my mind. There's one, the security, because a lot of times people hold these things really close and they're like, we don't just want somebody, APIs coming in and out and things. And then also the usability, because marketers and salespeople, may or may not have a more technical background. And so we want it to, the ease of use, I think, is something that's extremely important here. How have you gone about solving both of those things in terms of security and usability?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. For most of our customers, they're all enterprise companies, because Adobe is our big partner. So basically, Adobe's customers are our customers, right?
Nice.
And so I've been through, so many security reviews with teams, large financial institutions. So we take data privacy, very seriously here at Datajoin. And what we do is that we make sure that we don't store anything with our integrations. It's built on top of the APIs, like you mentioned, Kim. So we've, all those APIs are all, HTTPS. Everything is encrypted, while in transit. Everything is encrypted while it's being processed, on our servers as it's passing through to the other system. So we definitely take privacy seriously. And one other thing that we do, we don't pass any PII data, per se. So we'll never ever pass like an email address or any type of financial information. We basically just pass anonymous data from system to system, and we don't hold anything like on our servers at all. So that's how we kind of address the security piece. Yeah, I mean, we've been through, we have a large data security company is one of our customers, and so, man, I felt like I had to go to trial for those guys and just to kind of show them like what we're doing. But we take it very seriously. And then your second question about making it usable for marketers. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole goal for Datajoin, is that a marketer can use it. Like, they can come in. Now, you may need someone who uses the one system, and then some. So, for example, someone who uses Google Ads and they want to integrate that data with their Adobe Analytics. You may need the Adobe person and the Google Ads person sitting down going through it. But the idea is that, yeah, they can sit down and they can just map, hey, I want to push this segment from Adobe into Google Ads. And the interface is really nice. I mean, it's built very friendly, and we try to have as many descriptions in there as possible, and even tutorial videos that's coming through, on our product roadmap as well. But that's the goal. We want to make it so they don't have to go to IT. Yep.
I have a question.
The no-code component is coming up.
Yeah, right now it's no code, our product.
Nice.
So it's literally drag and drop, and that's it. So there are other systems, that I've used that are integration tools, and I'm a data person. Yeah, it's not very fun to use. I've used I won't say like the name of it. It's a well-known product that a lot of people use, but yeah, I mean, it's not fun to use, and I'd rather write just pure Python rather than use that tool, right? And so I'm trying to make it, with that in mind, and being a marketer's best friend, we try to make this very easy for marketers. So
very cool.
Okay, I have a question. Maybe it's a dumb one, but I would ask anyway. I have seen in websites. No, the question is, what are the weird trendings that you have seen on websites to recollect info? And the reason why I'm asking, for example, there were 3 times that I tried to connect with someone in in companies that are in the metaverse industry, and their websites are kind of different. So I need to go to LinkedIn to check what they are doing so I can recollect more values and ask them to be a guest in our show. So do you know if there are like weird trendings that now with the technology industry are changing in their websites?
Yeah, in terms of yeah, I'm not really sure. I know that we do, we do quite a bit on LinkedIn. It seems like LinkedIn is fresher. Like we can post, more frequent updates there. I could post every day. And so I find a lot of people, I find a lot of my personal communication, is with people I find on LinkedIn versus the website. But I'm not sure if that's answering your question. For our website, I mean, we just try to have a clear CTA and an easy to fill out form. Um, but yeah, we're not doing anything else really to try to collect any other data other than the form. Like that's what we use. So yeah,
Perfect.
I don't know,
You know,
America. Did I answer your question? I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, yes. I was thinking of, for example, that website in this, they are in the metaverse and everything, and you go and there is like no information. There are just like images moving, and then you need
Oh,
to, that kind of data that is kind of confusing if I want to add value to my emails and invite them to be a guest. That's why I asked.
yeah, I think it comes into this idea of garbage in, garbage out, right? And I think even with that, Datajoin might have its limitations. If what you're getting, if your website or things is not up to par, it is confusing, it's not going to help
yeah.
anyone, right?
Yeah, if you just had like one page and there's just some images, then there's not really there's not that many data points necessarily to work with. So yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Well, we're here to the final minutes of our show already, if you can believe it or not. And so, Sam, I wanted to bring it back to you as a founder, as well as Datajoin and the company and the culture that you're building. What have you found that has worked really, really well for you and, as a leader and as a company? And what are some things that maybe you would advise others not to do based off of your own experience and learnings?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, for our core values, so our first two are very important, but they're a little bit contrasting. So our first core value is aloha, right? I mean, we're from the islands, and it's this idea that we back each other up, we show a lot of care for one another and respect. And that's just important, like culturally, that's our personal backgrounds, right? A lot of us at my company are from the islands, and so
Okay.
but the second core value is just as important, possibly even more important, and that's find a way, right? We always find a way. Um, you know, Grit. That's probably a good word to describe it, but in these startup atmospheres, like we also need that just as much. I mean, this morning on our company meeting, that was what we shared this morning on our company meeting, is that grit prevails. Whenever you get knocked down and you stand back up, grit prevails. But if you do not stand back up, then grit fails, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like that's the type of company culture that we're building here in Datajoin. I think that's my own personal style. I'm an easygoing guy. I always have my uke here on my desk so I can just
I
relax.
love
But,
it.
but I also but I work hard, and we try to bust through problems. Like it doesn't matter if it's 100-foot wall. Like we will find a way through it too. So that's kind of the contrast of our culture, but that is our culture. It's the two sides of that coin. So
I love it.
yeah,
Is aloha one of those words that works as both a greeting and as a goodbye?
it does. Yep. Like
And
normally yeah.
and I think that's beautiful because I think if that's representing you as a culture, it's really about the journey too, right? It's the you're welcome here and also seeing people off at the end is a really important piece, I think, of a company culture. That the entire beginning to end is a good thing for company and for person.
I love it. Yep. I think, when you go to Hawaii, when you get there, people will greet you with aloha. And then when you leave, when we left to move back here, they sing that song, Aloha Oe, to wish us well as we leave. But yeah, I like what you said. I mean, it's the full journey. Like, we care about, our people, trying to develop them, and have that growth, because that's where they're going to find success personally and in their careers. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining us today on Dojo Live. We wish you, as well as Datajoin, nothing more than success in your continued journey this 2023 and beyond.
Hey, thank you so much, Kim in America. It's been my pleasure to be on with you guys this morning. So thank you.
Thank you. Stick around for just a minute as we go off air. But before we do go off air, we'd like to talk about what we're going to be doing the rest of this week.
Yes, tomorrow we're going to have another show with Paul Allard, co-founder and CEO of the company Impact. The topic is going to be about AI and non-financial reporting, exploring the limits. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have our second episode of our
On
Metaverse
Friday.
sequence. Friday, what did I say? Okay, sorry
Wednesday.
for that. Friday, yeah, and the topic is going to be about finances inside and outside the metaverse. The two shows are going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific.
That's right. So catch us tomorrow right here on Dojo Live. And until then, stay safe, everyone. Thank you again, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.